Hey everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. Back at the used car lot. They called me in on this 2001 Toyota Avalon. He said sometimes the check engine light's flashing, kind of has low power, and it idles too high. Okay. So here it is. Got the little pliers to keep the hood open. Classic 1MZ-FE powertrain. Scan it for codes, just OBD2 mode. We have a whole bunch of codes. 0325 knock sensor, bank 1, then a P0300, 302, 304, 306, P1150 air fuel sensor performance bank 2, and variable valve timing sensor range performance. That's a lot of codes, and does this thing have lots of separate issues? Now, how many miles does it have on it? Not too many. Only 87,000 miles. That's unbelievable. These things can go, 500,000 miles usually, no problem with some basic maintenance. So let's fire it up, look at some live data, and if we need to, we'll go into Toyota OEM mode. And the shop owner said he already replaced the idle air control valve, I believe. Down there you can see it's nice and shiny. So we'll see if that's working or not. See why the idle's too high. Alright, we've got some basic data pulled up. We've got long-term trims, short-term trims, and then the equivalence ratios, bank 1 and bank 2. And then there's one downstream sensor, oxygen sensor, down here. Mass airflow, engine coolant temp, RPM, throttle position. So let's fire it up, see what happens. Oh, that didn't sound very good, did it? Let's see what happens. That crank didn't sound great. I don't know if it was flooded out or what. But our lambdas are online. Mass airflow is right there. Let's wait until the short terms start correcting and see if the bank 2 sensor will do something funky and cause the whole front bank, cylinders 2, 4, and 6, to misbehave. We'll see. So this thing might be stuck in some kind of open loop strategy because the short terms and the long terms are stuck at 0. And look, bank 1, sensor 1, the lambda is a little bit lean, and bank 2 is a little bit rich. Like bank 2 is not breathing as well, and perhaps that's the case if we have that variable valve problem. But let's clear the codes out. So key off. And then we'll go back into live data. Hopefully it'll reset enough to make a diagnosis. Alright, scan for codes. No fault codes at the moment. Back into live data. And I wish it kept the data PIDs that we selected, but we'll have to reselect them. Alright, here we go. See what happens here. There we go. Short term on bank 1 woke up a little bit. There's bank 2. Ooh, look at that. So opposite, bank 1 and bank 2. That's pretty crazy. 40% difference there. So bank 2 is definitely not breathing correctly. That's what I'm getting from this data right now. So, could there be a problem with the variable valve timing system on bank 2? Absolutely. That's why we're getting negative trims on bank 2, because if it's not breathing properly, the computer has to subtract fuel. So I've seen this once before in a Lexus, same year, same engine, and the issue with that one was the oil control solenoid was sticking and you know, shifting the phaser when it wasn't supposed to. That's why we're getting that code. So this is fantastic right here. Raise the RPMs up a little bit. So lambda's, you know, it's in control, but it's still way too rich on bank 2. And we can also look at the actual voltages here. Let's see, we don't need coolant temp or intake air temp. See this right here? Bank 2 sensor one is stuck at 3 and this one is 3.3. So I'm tempted to unplug the sensor and see how it runs. If in default strategy it gets better. Because the sensor actually could be lying. That's a variable, and we can't check it because there's only one downstream sensor. If there was one downstream sensor per bank, we can verify, hey, is the top one lying? Because if the downstream one's showing way rich and the upstream one's showing lean, obviously something's wrong. So let me unplug that sensor and we'll rerun this test. And look, check engine lights flashing. That's probably because bank 2 is running like garbage. Interesting. Okay, so bank 2 sensor 1, the upstream in the front, unplugged. So 3.3 is, you know, that bias voltage. And let's start it up again. See if it runs any better. See, short-term bank 2 is now 0. Does it run better at 0 fuel trim? That's my question. Definitely seems like it. We can take it for a test drive, see how it performs. Have a little bit of gas there, so I think I want to do that with that sensor unplugged. Well, if I put it in gear, it's actually pretty rough. Like it's running on just one bank. I mean, partially. So perhaps the sensor isn't lying and we have a variable valve timing problem. So those two variables right now, we have to prove which one it is. Is the sensor lying? Or is the front bank not breathing enough, causing this issue? What would be your next step? By the way, the codes that it's set right now, P0300, 302, 304, 306. I unplugged the sensor, so it's set the heater control on bank 2, 2, 4, and 6. Alright, that kind of makes sense. Alrighty, so I extracted the bank 2 oil control solenoid. Lives right here, fairly easy to get to. Here it is on the bench. We're going to energize it and see if it moves and what happens. It does move. Seems to be operational. Nice solid click. Does it retract all the way? I think so. Yeah, that should work. So this thing seems like it works. I want to leave it unplugged and plug the air-fuel ratio sensor back in, just run it and see if anything changes. Alright, so I reinstalled the oil control solenoid here on bank 2 and left the wires here so we can manually energize it and see if the engine changes how it runs. Is the camshaft advancing? What is going on? Let's clear all the codes right now. Reconnected the air-fuel ratio sensor. So clear fault code. And then we'll jump into live data and see if anything changes when energize that solenoid. By the way, the car is smart enough. It set the bank 2 oil control valve circuit code right away before even starting the car. So That's what I expect. And back to live data. Alright, here we go. Let's fire it up. Sweet. Okay, the lambdas are good. Seems like it's running a lot better. Very smooth. Alright. So, look at this. Now the fuel trims are equal, about equal, minus 10%. Both sensors are working fine. So is this car fixed? Well, we proved that the issue has to do with that oil control valve. Maybe we could clean it out. It still seems like it clicks nicely, but that was pretty neat. So the sensor, the air-fuel ratio sensor was not lying. It's reporting correctly. Everything is, you know, fuel trims are happy. It's running absolutely butter smooth. Revs up really nicely. Scan it for codes. Absolutely no misfires at all. I mean, butter smooth like a 1MZ should. And we just have the circuit code there. So let's try plug that back in, reset it, take it for a drive and see if everything's back to normal. Okay, cleared out all the trouble codes. Let's take this thing for a rip. Look at the fuel trims. Okay, nice and smooth. Just gonna let it idle for a little bit. Yep, trims are identical. Now let's take it for a drive and see if it can vary the, you know, use the VVT and if it'll come back to home base. Alright, here we go. Let's punch it. Oh yeah, nice smooth pull. And we'll cruise for a little bit on the highway here and just keep looking at those fuel trims. So far it's happy. Alright, car's doing great. Smooth. That was about 2 miles of cruising. The banks look very even. Revs up nicely. Let's see if it set any pending codes. No fault codes. Wow. Impressive. Well, let's go back to the shop. I mean, if it's fixed, then it's good. And if this problem happens again, I'm going to tell the shop owner there that you got to replace this oil control valve, or take it out, clean it with some brake clean or something. But it seems to have helped. Or use Valvoline Restore and Protect synthetic oil. That might clean up some of those oil varnish deposits and bring it back to life. I always like to keep OEM parts if they're still working, or you know, if they're just a little gunked up, like just clean them out, because getting anything aftermarket, no go. Amazon, eBay, that's out of the question. Even dealer parts, the new ones, this solenoid's made in Japan, the new ones are probably made in Mexico and they're different, and I just don't trust them. So I think that's it for this one. Pretty neat diagnosis, no parts required yet. The car runs beautifully. Happy ending, I guess. So thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Uh-oh, bonus footage. Check engine light just popped on. Let's get in the parking lot and scan it for codes. Oh, knock sensor code's back. So that will actually reduce power. The ignition timing won't be advanced as it should be, because the engine's trying to protect itself. So you want to save this in a report. This is after fixing the main customer complaint, and tell them if you want it to run even better, you're going to have to remove that intake manifold and replace the knock sensors. Standard 1MZ issue. So, and that's that.